While John Finnegan was barely holding onto his physical strength after a shocking diagnosis of a newly discovered brain tumor, his world began to unravel in more ways than one. The tumor wasn't just a health crisis, it was a ticking clock. The prognosis was grim. Though his medical background gave him insight, it didn't provide immunity. Steffi Forrester, his wife, was shattered by the news. She tried to be strong, but nothing could numb the terror of watching the man she loved fade. Especially with no guarantee that surgery or treatment would work in time. The illness was moving fast, and so was everything else around them. While Finn and Steffi were fighting the storm in plain sight, something darker was brewing beneath the surface. Sheila Carter, always watching, always lurking, discovered a secret that could tip the scales completely in her favor. Luna Nozawa, presumed missing, even dead, was alive. And not just alive, but hidden in a secret clinic under the careful control of Lee Finnegan, Finn's adoptive mother. Luna was comatose, kept on life support away from the public eye, her existence wiped from records, her identity buried. Lee had done it for reasons still unclear, perhaps to protect Luna, perhaps for control, perhaps for something more sinister. But it didn't matter anymore. Sheila had found the truth. The revelation gave Sheila leverage like never before. With Finn weak and Lee vulnerable, Sheila saw an opening. And she took it. Without hesitation, she infiltrated the clinic, bypassing security and extracting Luna in the middle of the night. Luna, still unconscious, was transported to an undisclosed location, an abandoned estate on the outskirts of Los Angeles, rigged with surveillance, alarms, and Sheila's signature paranoia. The act wasn't impulsive. It was calculated. And soon, it became cruel. Lee, discovering the breach too late, was sent a single message, no signature, no demand, just a photo of Luna, pale and unconscious, with a time-stamped digital clock in the background. Then came the taunts. Anonymous packages with strands of Luna's hair. Voicemails with breathing. A vial of blood with a note. Asterisk, how far will you go to protect your lies? Asterisk Lee unraveled quickly, knowing exactly who was behind it, but unable to prove anything. And then Sheila made her next move. Pulling Deacon Sharp into the chaos. Deacon had tried to escape his past. He had been making progress, working on himself, proving to Hope and the rest of the Logan family that he could stay clean, be decent. But Sheila knew his weaknesses, and more importantly, she knew how to twist them. She lured him into the web with half-truths and manipulated him with vague hints about a girl in danger, a woman he once knew, and the opportunity to do the right thing this time. At first, Deacon refused. But then Sheila showed him the live feed Luna, strapped to a hospital bed, her pulse low, her future uncertain. She didn't tell him who she was. She didn't have to. Deacon recognized the hospital badge left in the background. Lee's clinic. He knew this was real. And suddenly, he was back in the same swamp of compromise, balancing between helping Sheila and staying out of prison. Finn, meanwhile, was being pulled in two impossible directions. On one hand, he was collapsing under the weight of his diagnosis. Headaches intensified, dizziness, blackouts, and the looming threat that at any moment he might lose control. But on the other hand, Lee finally cracked under the pressure and revealed the truth to him. Luna wasn't dead. She had been hidden, and now she had been taken. Finn was furious. "You lied to me," he told Lee. "You let me believe she was gone." Lee's only defense was weak. It was for her safety. "You don't understand what she was mixed up in." But Finn didn't care. He only knew that Luna was in danger and that he might be the only one who could save her. And then came Grace. Still under scrutiny for her involvement in falsified medical records and suspicious, advanced procedures related to Liam Spencer's so-called miracle recovery, Grace was on the verge of being exposed. Finn had been quietly gathering evidence, piecing together her lies. But now, with Luna's life hanging in the balance, Sheila weaponized the situation against him. A second message arrived, this one addressed directly to Finn. Asterisk, you want the girl back? Drop the investigation. You can't save everyone. Choose. Asterisk, it wasn't subtle. It wasn't vague. It was a direct order from a sociopath who knew exactly how to break him. If Finn went public with what he had on Grace, if he exposed the fraudulent treatments and the possible exploitation of patients, Sheila would vanish, with Luna in tow. If he stayed quiet, he could keep Grace in power but potentially find and save Luna. Finn had to decide. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Steffi watched him deteriorate. His physical symptoms were getting worse. His stress levels were peaking. She tried to get through to him, but he wouldn't tell her what was happening. Not all of it. Not the choice. Not the threat. She knew something was wrong, but when she pushed, Finn pushed back harder. I have to fix this, he told her. Just trust me. But Steffi was losing that trust fast. He was shutting her out. He was keeping secrets. And in a marriage built on truth and healing, that was poison. The wedge began to grow. Finn was spending longer hours outside the house. He was tracking leads on Luna's whereabouts with Deacon's hesitant help. Deacon, caught between guilt and fear, began to leak partial information. Sheila's moving her every 48 hours. She's using old Marone warehouses, some of them burned out, some of them still live. Finn followed each clue, even as his condition worsened. Eventually, Finn collapsed during a stakeout. Alone. No backup. No meds. Just him in a parking lot with a head full of pressure and pain. He woke up in a hospital bed, furious, frustrated, and still without Luna. Steffi was there when he woke up, but this time, she wasn't gentle. You're dying, Finn. And you're out there chasing ghosts while our family is falling apart. What are you hiding from me? Finn finally broke. He told her everything about Grace, about Luna, about Sheila, about the deal. Steffi didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, we're not going to survive this if you try to do it alone. But by then, it might have already been too late. Sheila, sensing that her grip was loosening, sent her final message. A live video. Luna waking up, groggy, confused, terrified. Her voice barely audible. Asterisk, where am I? Asterisk, and then, a figure stepped into frame. Not Sheila. Lee. It wasn't a recording. It was real. Sheila had taken Lee too. Now, Finn wasn't choosing between Grace and Luna. He was choosing between his mother and his patient. Between justice and family. Between truth and survival. And with time running out. For his own life, for Luna's safety, for his marriage, it was no longer a question of what he could save. It was a matter of what he was willing to lose. The day the world shattered for Steffi Forrester came cloaked in gray skies and silence, so heavy it drowned the city. John Finn Finnegan was gone. Pronounced dead at 7:42 a.m. after emergency neurosurgery failed to stop the rapid hemorrhaging caused by his brain tumor. He had collapsed just hours after watching the final video Sheila sent. Lee, bound and bruised, beside a terrified Luna in an undisclosed location. Finn had been planning to act. One final rescue. One last attempt to fix everything. But his body gave out before he could take a single step. The funeral was closed casket. Not because of injury, but because no one wanted to see the stillness of the man who once ran through chaos with his stethoscope around his neck and hope in his eyes. Ridge handled the logistics. Taylor held Steffi when she couldn't stand. Hope and Brooke attended in quiet solidarity. Thomas broke down halfway through the eulogy. And Steffi, for the first time in her life, didn't say a word. She didn't cry. Not in public. Not then. She just stared ahead, numb and hollowed, as the priest recited words about courage and sacrifice. About love that never dies. But none of it mattered. The man she built a life with, fought for, bled for, was now a photograph on a frame and a name etched into polished marble. The church was filled with whispers about how unfair it all was. about how young he'd been, about how no one deserved this. But Steffi didn't hear them. She heard the moment she last kissed him. She heard the silence of his voicemail. She heard the missed chances and the things she never got to say. She had begged him to stop chasing shadows. She had told him to come home. But Finn had always followed his heart, even when it cost him everything. Later that night, after the mourners had gone and the flowers started to wilt, Steffi stood in their bedroom. His jacket still hung on the chair. His wedding band lay in a small dish by the sink. The pillows still smelled like him. And that's when the sobs came, violent, breathless, endless. The pain hit like a freight train, raw and real. She collapsed to the floor, clawing at the bed, whispering his name like it could bring him back. But the story didn't end with death. Because secrets don't die, and neither does vengeance. Sheila Carter watched the funeral from afar. Dressed in black, hiding behind tinted car windows, she didn't cry. She didn't blink. She just watched. Finn had never been her plan to kill. But death was always collateral when she played her game. And now she had what she wanted, power. With Lee still missing and Luna a ghost in a hidden medical chamber, Sheila now had full control of 2 lives. She thought about sending another message to Steffi, a warning, a taunt, but even she knew better. Not yet. Not when the wound was fresh. Deacon, crushed by guilt, tried to confess his role in helping Sheila move Luna. He arrived at the Forrester mansion, shaken and pale, but Ridge slammed the door in his face. "You helped her. You let this happen," Ridge growled. "You don't get forgiveness." But Steffi listened. Because Deacon had something no one else did, a location. Not exact, but close. A log of addresses Sheila used over the last 3 months. Storage units. Burned-out clinics. Rural estates. Deacon handed it over. "I didn't know she'd kill him," he said. "I didn't know it would cost you this." Steffi didn't forgive him. But she took the file. Because the grief inside her had curdled into something else, rage. And Steffi Forrester, once broken, now had nothing left to lose. She began to investigate, quietly, obsessively. With Ridge and Thomas trying to protect her from further trauma, she operated alone. Late nights. Unmarked drives. Whispered calls to old contacts in the security industry. With her marriage buried 6 feet under, Steffi became a different woman, cold, focused, dangerous. 1 week after the funeral, a lead came through. A property outside Barstow. Rented under an alias linked to one of Sheila's known shell corporations. Isolated. No cameras. No visitors. Just a generator and a fence. Steffi didn't tell anyone. She packed a gun. She drove alone. And what she found there changed everything. Inside the dim structure, down a metal stairwell, was a locked room. A gurney. A pulse monitor. And Luna. Still alive. Weak. Unconscious. But alive. And next to her Lee, barely responsive. Malnourished. Handcuffed to a metal bar. But breathing. Steffi dropped the gun. Fell to her knees. She called emergency services. The rescue came fast and quiet. By dawn, both women were safe in a hospital ward under armed guard. But the war wasn't over. Because Sheila had vanished. And now, with Finn gone, Steffi's mission was crystal clear. Find her. Destroy her. End this. Not for justice. Not for closure. For Finn. For the life that was stolen. And for the fury that would not rest until blood paid for blood.